Good morning, guys. Happy Tuesday. Beautiful spring day here in Texas. In fact, we have an audience today that doesn't include my toddlers, but deer. Deer in my backyard. And I'm thinking, wow, times have really changed. My kids had the quintessential blended breakfast this morning. We had Cheerios and organic strawberries, representing my California roots. And then we also had deer sausage, representing my husband's roots. So I think that's an all American breakfast. They're finishing up. So I snuck outside. If I could do coffee talk every day outside, I totally would. But it's not always possible. And it's dark, you guys. Remember, this whole time change thing? So here's three things that you need to know today. It's a really nice diversity of different stories to talk about. I'm going to start first overseas because this is an important story for us to watch here in America and really around the world. What we're witnessing overseas is the most significant rocket exchange between Israel, a key American ally, and Hamas-controlled Gaza, which is a little strip of land that borders Israel. If we need to, we'll get more into the history and the dynamics between these two different parties. But it's important just to recognize that this rocket exchange is causing some to wonder if we're headed towards a more significant conflict. In recent years, Israel and Hamas have gone to war, the most recent in 2014. Prime Minister Netanyahu, the current Prime Minister of Israel, was just in Washington, D.C. He left early because of this rocket fire. And so it's something we should keep an eye on. The Prime Minister is trying to seek his fifth record term in office in Israel. So Israel's right before an election period. And so there's just a lot of different dynamics at play. Hamas is designated a terrorist organization by the U.S. State Department. In fact, it was designated a terrorist organization before Al-Qaeda even was. So here's the situation, a very tense situation in Israel. Again, a key Middle East ally for the United States of America, and something I just want you to sort of have on your radar, something that's going on in the world, that anything happens between Israel and Hamas involves a lot of different parties, because you have the United States supporting Israel, you have different countries and entities supporting Hamas, and so I hesitate to use the term proxy war now because we're not in a war yet. We're just exchanging rocket fire. It's getting a little bit tense, but it can be symbolic of a much bigger conflict. So I wanted you to know a little bit about that. Second thing I want you to know today is something that Apple did yesterday. And even if you're not an Apple user, there's a reason why I think you should know about this. So Apple yesterday announced basically these Plus services. So Apple News Plus and another video streaming service. And what Apple is trying to do is they're really trying to disrupt what's going on in the media field. And let me explain why. The Apple News Plus will actually give you access with a subscription fee to about 300 different magazines and newspapers. We don't know if you'd get access to all the content in all of these publications, but it would give you some access. And also what Apple's doing through their streaming service is they're trying to compete with Netflix and Amazon. So why does Apple matter? Well, especially when it comes to video streaming, their proposal right now is that they're going to be able to stream video to you without any ads. And so what they're basing it on is, again, a subscription model. And why can they do that? Because they have 1 billion plus users. I think one of the estimates was like 1.4 billion Apple device holders in the world. Now, you say, well, I have an Android. I'm on Motorola, or I'm on a different service and a different technology than Apple. And while there's a lot of users for like Android devices around the world, Apple has that key channel directly to you through their platforms that they develop. And if they're able to succeed by giving you content without a lot of advertising, think about how that changes television. Think about how that changes even when you're watching anything on Netflix or Amazon Prime or Amazon in general. Think about what that potentially can do for original content. So I'm really curious about that. We don't have any specifics, by the way, for video streaming. So how much would it cost you? For the news service through Apple, it would cost you around $10 a month. So it's, for me as an entrepreneur that's looking at tech and a way to deliver information to you, I've always struggled with the subscription model because I think that information is free. You can Google almost anything. But I understand why they're doing that, because if they're able to capture that sort of business model simply through subscriptions, again, it just changes the whole dynamic of media platforms. I mean, it just changes the way that we're consuming information. And because of Apple's prevalence in our daily life, again, even if you're not a user, it just could have massive influence. So it's just something that I'm watching. So that could be something that can make your life easier or harder, depending on how you look at it. And then finally, a story out of Texas. I'm sure you guys have probably stumbled upon this already on social media, but just a little perspective. There is a woman that gave birth to sextuplets, so 6 babies in Texas on March 15th. We're really just first learning about it because it's hitting the national press. It was out a little bit locally, but now it's really getting out there. We don't know many details. We know the babies are in stable condition, but how rare is it to have 6 babies? And as I am with child, I'm almost 6 months pregnant. You know, my hat's off to her. I'm like, wow, I'm complaining. I mean, really. Anyway, 6 babies. So how rare is that? The chances are 1 in 4.7 billion that you would have sextuplets. Okay, your chances to be president is 1 in 10 million. I have to check that stat. I'm pretty sure it's 10 million. Yes, I'm sorry. Which means I think we totally have a chance when it comes to that. Having 6 babies, I'm not so sure. And if you look at just the most recent statistics in the United States, for the number of babies that were born in multiples of quintuplets or higher, so 5 babies or higher, in 2017, it was just over 30 babies. So you have to think about, okay, if there's 30 divided by 5, so that's like 5 or 6, you know, you're talking about 3 to 4 women, 4 to 5 women in the United States giving birth to quintuplets or sextuplets. So it is rare. So when people are making a big deal about it, you know, and you're hearing statistics like, wow, it's more likely that you'll be hit by lightning or a president of the United States than having 6 babies, the reality is that is true. So that's a fun fact just for you to head off into your day. So we wish her well and her little babies well. We don't know all the names yet. And anyways, it's just one of those things that sort of pops up and you're like, huh, cool. So congratulations. All right, guys, we're going to be looking at a couple different stories that are really going to be big stories tomorrow when it comes to technology, not just social, you know, not just the technology we're talking about with Apple, but for social media in particular. One is the Major General really taking Google to task, saying that they're aiding the Chinese and Chinese military against the United States. So I'm going to dig into that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about social media because that's going to be a big topic on Capitol Hill tomorrow. This is regarding really kind of the after effects of the New Zealand shooting at the mosque there, and a bigger question about social media and about who owns our social media. Even if it's our pictures in our account, who really owns it? So those are a couple things that we're going to be looking at today. Also, I hear you, a couple of you had questions about the special counsel investigation, how much it's really costing Americans, and whether or not we earn some money from it, because there's a forfeiture of assets and money by some of those that have been found guilty. We're digging into that, so we hear you. So don't worry, we're gonna take a look at that. All right, guys. Hope you're having a great day, and I'm gonna jump off, clean up the kitchen, get the kids going, and let us know if we can help in any way. DM us or email us info@smarternews.com. Bye, guys.